Gronk is pivotal in that he is their best matchup guy. He is their best move guy. And you watch all the different places they play Gronk from. They'll play him outside wide as an X receiver, right? They'll move him outside the numbers. They'll play him in line at the weak side tight end. They'll play him at the strong side tight end. Play him at the fullback position. And he'll line up in fullback, and he'll run routes out of the backfield. He's their most pivotal wham guy, so he motions across and traps a defensive tackle, a defensive end in their running game. This is a guy that plays all the way across the football field, and he's your #1 matchup guy. He's a pivotal component to their success in the long term. And you know what? They missed, when he went out of that game, man, they missed Gronkowski. They found a way to win it. But that guy is their best matchup guy. So he is a pivotal part of that offense.
And the proof is in how they use him. Since 2013, so Gronk missed one postseason, but since 2013, or missed a couple postseasons, I should say, the 3 games in the playoffs where he has double-digit targets, what are they? Oh, okay, the conference championship game they lost against Denver, where they were needed to come back. They needed to find a way, go to our best weapon. They targeted him 15 times. How about the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, where they're trailing double digits in the fourth quarter? Target him 10 times. How about a divisional playoff game against Baltimore? They only win that game 35-31, close game. They target him 13 times. Like, they use Gronk almost... I feel like they don't use him as much as they could in games they are winning easily because he does have the injury history. I know I mentioned that to Coach Mangini. He dismissed it. I disagree with him. Like, I think they are cautious with their usage of Gronk because they know we need him in our biggest spots. We need him in this coming game. And so if you're blowing a team out, is it worth throwing Gronk over the middle when he can have his legs or his head hit? Right. So, but you see how the Pats use him against the best defenses and against their best opponents, and the answer is a lot.
Because there's not one guy that's going to step up and fill in if he's not there. I mean, that's how crucial he really is to this.
He's so crucial. Besides Tom Brady, he's the most important player. Nick, I totally disagree with you as far as the usage. Bill Belichick, he doesn't monitor guys like that. He doesn't play football like that. He doesn't coach like that, where he would maybe count your reps and everything. And, man, Gronk, we don't know how long Gronk's going to play. Like we got some crystal ball. Like, oh, it's not like Gronk's going to have a 15-year career. Like, we do know that. Belichick utilizes you when you are in your prime better than other coaches. The one thing about Gronk that we all miss, and the one conversation, the one-on-one conversation that I've had with Tom Brady, it was this summer. It was when I was in Israel with Mr. Kraft and the family in the Hall of Fame, and he FaceTimed Tom Brady. And he said, Tom, I want to introduce you to someone. And he put me on the phone. He was like, hey, Chris, what's going on? I was like, hey, Tom, did Mr. Kraft tell you the new news? He was like, no, what is it? It's like, I'm joining the Patriots. He said, thank God. I'm tired of throwing to all these short guys. I've been telling them for years, man, get me a big guy. I said, well, that's great. You're going to love the next news. He was like, what is it? I said, I'm only playing in the red zone. He said, you can play wherever you want to. But it's a fact. It's a lot easier to throw. That's why he loved Randy Moss. Not only because of his personality, not only because of his football IQ, but because he had the ability as a tall receiver. Tom's margin of error is wider. That's why he also loves to throw to Gronk. Not only is Gronk's catch radius, but Gronk being 6'6". It's a huge advantage throwing against linebackers and safeties. A lot of times people don't look at that. Well, the height of the wide receiver, is that important? Absolutely. If we look at Tom, probably the biggest throw besides the 3rd and 18 was the deep throw down the sideline to Brandon Cook. The one he put all the arc on the ball, and he ended up getting pass interference. Tom throws that ball on purpose because as a cornerback, A.J. Bouye is taller than Brandon Cook. So when they're running down the sideline together, Tom can't see him. So he can't drill the ball into him like he does with Gronk. You have to put more arc on the ball, and also it allows the safety to come over to make a play on the ball. So the bigger the wide receiver, it really does help. And Tom Brady has not been blessed in his 17-year career with throwing to a lot of taller guys.
When you're down, I don't think it's the way you call plays as a coaching staff. It's the way the quarterback and that particular receiver decide, hey, man, I'm coming to you. Like, I'm going to get off my first target, even though that's the number one I'm supposed to throw to, because I like the matchup with you. And I was in an AFC Championship game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, late, pivotal game, fourth quarter, and we call a play in the huddle. And Shannon Sharp and John Elway are having a conversation, and it basically came down to just get open.
Yes.
I'm coming to you, Sharp. Just find a way to get open. And, you know, there was no route. There was no route combination. It was, hey, dude, you get open.
Brad Johnson, him and I had an understanding. He looked at me, and he say, is there any doubt? So it's forget what the play is, Chris. Forget who's the primary. I'm getting ready to come to you.
Wait, quickly, what's the schedule now going to be for him and when he has to be cleared by in order to play?
It's going to be every day. Every day they're going to try to monitor him to see if he advances in the protocol. So
but he could be right up to game time?
He can't be 3 steps short of clearance 2 days before.
Yes.
So
okay,
like
so
that. So he
Friday.
you can clear basically a step a day. There's 2 of the steps you can clear in 1 day. But if he's like still in step 2, and it's Friday before the game, he's not playing. But he could be in step 3. For a week.
Not to make light of brain injuries though. Too, they asked Gronk a few of the questions. He didn't know the answers. But
that was when he didn't have the concussion.
Yeah, absolutely. So they didn't know. They didn't know how to measure it.
His baseline test is a question for Gronk in general. That is true.
Mark, don't go anywhere. Stay with us. I'm definitely not going to come out and make a comment about how effervescent all of his answers are. That is not what I'm going to do. But let's talk about slowing down this Eagles defensive line. Schlereth, how hard is that going to be?
Well, I mean, it's exceptionally difficult, but I think one of the things you have to understand is, so if Chris and I were lined up against each other and he was playing defensive tackle and I was playing offensive guard, and he beat me clean, meaning I didn't even touch him. He just, whoop, swim move, beat me clean. On a 5-step drop, it still takes about 1.7 seconds to get the quarterback. Okay, that's how long it takes. Brady's average get-off time is probably about 2.1, 2.2 at the longest. He is so into getting rid of the ball, getting it out of his hands between 1.5 and 2.5 seconds. Well, you do that on a consistent basis without holding on to the football, that becomes a secondary issue because your defensive line is never going to get there. They're just not. And so, yeah, they're hard to block. Yeah, they're exceptionally disruptive. All those things are true. But if you get rid of the ball in that time frame, if I just impede your progress a little bit, ball's gone.
Just don't whiff.
At the best you're going to do is get a late hit on him, you know, or just get a hand in his face. So those are the things that you think about. You can control the tempo of a pass rush with which, in the way that you approach and the 3-step drops and allowing guys to be aggressive and allowing the offensive line to attack and the run fake and all those things that they do exceptionally well, getting rid of the ball. You can wear it. If you do it that way through the first 3 quarters of the game, you can have a defense so worn out by the fourth quarter that it really doesn't matter how much of an advantage their players have over you athletically, because defensive linemen at some point, they run out of fuel.
Yes.
If you know what you're doing as an offense and you balance that stuff up and, you know, you do a couple of max protections, a 3-step drop, you run the ball, you run a draw, you run a trap, you set people up, it's amazing how much energy they don't have come the fourth quarter, as in that Jacksonville game in the fourth quarter. Man, they're just, I mean, Brady's clean in that pocket and they're throwing the ball down the sideline.
As in their last couple Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Right. Seattle ran out of gas. Atlanta definitely ran out of gas.
Sure.
The distinction I would draw, though, between Philadelphia and those 2 teams they played in the Super Bowl or Jacksonville is while those teams had, particularly Seattle and Jacksonville, elite front-end talent at their defensive line, I don't think they had the depth Philly has. CC, it's a stat you've brought up all year. They have 7 defensive linemen who've played at least 400 snaps this year.
Yes.
So they have the ability to have elite or near elite level players fresher than most teams. And it's because this is something I really respect about Philadelphia. They have made a damn investment in this spot. First-round pick, Brandon Graham. First-round pick, Fletcher Cox. You acquired Timmy Jernigan, a top pick from Baltimore. Second-round pick, Vinny Curry. That's guys drafted. Those are the veterans. Then you bring in Chris Long, a former number 2 overall pick, if I remember correctly, but who won the Super Bowl last year. You also, what did you do in the first round this year? First-round pick, Derek Barnett. So you have 6 guys with elite talent at different phases of their career who you can rotate in as pass rushers or as D tackles. Like, that's an enormous edge. Your point on Brady's a great one, that if he's getting it out quick, it doesn't matter. But the fatigue factor, I think, applies less to Philly than almost any D-line in the league.
But there's one other aspect to that. They'll get in that no huddle, and they won't allow you.
Still in my thunder now.
Right. They won't allow you to get out of that personnel group. So they'll do that, 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 drives. They'll get in that, and they just won't allow you to rotate.
Right. The other thing is, too, we have to, from an energy standpoint, Jenna, you're the huge workout fitness guru on the show. From an energy standpoint, and the Super Bowl is a little bit different, Mark. You're the veteran of that. How much food you're going to eat, how much is the pregame, and then you have to refuel at halftime. Now, the defensive line that they faced in Atlanta, if Philadelphia had that lead, they would be Super Bowl champions because they have too many rushers. And their secondary is better than Atlanta's secondary. But you mentioned there's 2 things in negate a great defensive line. Number 1 is no huddle. Now, we are at a neutral site, so the ability to run no huddle is greater in U.S. Bank Stadium in Super Bowl 52 than at any other time, unless they were playing at Gillette. Right. So that will be the number 1 thing to attack that. Bill Belichick knows better than I do. They got 7 guys with 400 snaps. The other thing, what do you do to negate great rushing lines or great penetrating line? Throw a lot of screen passes. All right, so not only are you running up the field, but then when they throw the ball, now you have to chase the guy. And watch New England after the screen passes, how many times they run no huddle. So they take it, they make sure that your tank is empty at the end of the game by the way that they go about it. Well, for Philadelphia fans, Dusty and the rest of the crazy crazies, well, let me give you something encouraging about what you're doing. Tim Jernigan and our boy, Fletcher Cox, they play defensive tackle. The one place that New England does not want to get pressure is through the middle. We're used to edge pressure. Tom steps up a little bit, moves to his left or his right, but Tim Jernigan and Fletcher Cox being at defensive tackle, and the center is undersized. Both the guards are undersized. So that would, if you look for Philadelphia, have penetration not on the outsides, but through center guard gaps.
All right, Mark, before we let you go, we did want to wish you a very happy birthday.
Oh, thank
the only
you.
way.
Look around. Look at that.
Look at
We had gotten you a cake, but as the resident dietitian on the show, I decided to.
Well, thank you. All right, you want me to blow these out?
Yeah, make a wish.
Okay. All right, I got it.
Hey, listen, don't kill the other place we were, though. I know that's the
No.
More us, less them.
Oh, happy birthday, brother.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate
one of the best people that I've ever met as far as the NFL alumni and everything. Good peeps.
Thank you. Great. I like that crown on your head.
Whichever one you don't.
Go in for it, guys. Go in for it.
I'm going for the chocolate.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.